Tonight on Prime Business, Ghana's economy slows down in growth in the first quarter of this year compared to the same period last year. We have the latest from the government statistician.
Real GDP for the first quarter of 2022 grew by 3.3%, and this is less than half what we saw in the last quarter of 2021.
Also, Finance Minister reiterates government's commitment to account for all funds expended to fight COVID-19 pandemic.
Supports to household, health responses, health infrastructure, security operations, economic relief, COVID-19 vaccines, other COVID-related expenditure, all summing up to the 12.03 billion.
Plus, Agric Minister reveals 2.6 billion cedis has been expended on government's flagship program Planting for Food and Jobs over the last 5 years.
But I'm proud to say that Planting for Food and Jobs have been totally funded by the Ghanaian taxpayer.
Right.
The Ghanaian taxpayer's money has been to the tune of 2.6 billion Ghana cedis.
I am Beverly Broohm. Please stay for details. Hello and welcome. Ghana's economy slowed down in growth in the first quarter of this year compared to the same period last year. The economy recorded 3.3% growth rate, aided by some marginal expansions in the services and agriculture sector. According to government statistician Professor Kwabena Enim, the agriculture sector led the growth rate, expanding by 5.6%, followed by services with a growth rate of 3.7%.
Real GDP for the first quarter of 2022 grew by 3.3%, and this is less than half what we saw in the last quarter of 2021. In the last quarter of 2021, we did record a 7.0 oil GDP growth rate, and now we are recording a 3.3 oil GDP growth rate for the first quarter of 2022. From a non-oil perspective, we recorded 3.7% for the first quarter of 2022 relative to the 7.6% that we recorded for the last quarter of 2021. If you look at this from the perspective of the first quarter of 2021, these are the lowest growth rates that we've recorded, discounting the contractions that we recorded during the COVID-19 era. So since the economy rebounds in 2022 quarter 4, these are the lowest growth rates that we've recorded over this time period. We look at the average for the period quarter 1 2014 to quarter 1 2022 and compare that with the growth rate for quarter 1 2022. We look at this from the subsectors perspectives and also from an oil GDP and a non-oil GDP perspective. From a sector perspective, the agricultural sector for the first quarter of 2022 saw the highest growth rate of 5.6%, and the industry sector saw the least growth rate of 1.3%. The services sector saw a growth rate of 3.7%. With the exception of the agricultural sector that recorded a growth rate higher than the rolling average from the first quarter of 2014 to the first quarter of 2022, the industry and the services sectors recorded lower growth rate, i.e. the industry sector had 1.3 as its growth rate for the first quarter of 2022 relative to the 4.5 average for the period 2014 quarter 1 to 2022 quarter 1. The services sector also saw a slowdown in its growth rate as the first quarter of 2022 grew by 3.7% relative to the rolling average 4.5 for the period quarter 1 2014 to quarter 1 2022.
Meanwhile, Associate Professor of Finance with the Andrews University, Dr. William Pepra, believes that if policymakers invest the 10,000 billion funds mentioned in the budget into the agriculture sector, the returns will go a long way to change the narrative.
So we know government is coming up with the Youth Start program. Already we have the agricultural program, which is Youth in Agriculture program. So if government will make sure that the funds, the 10 billion fund that is being mentioned in the budget, will go to the youth and purposely to agriculture, it will help us to be able to achieve the set target and then put the youth at work. At the moment, the service industry is full. Government admit that its own employment into the what is required is that to make the youth entrepreneurs. So I'm expecting that government will channel more resources into the training and then giving the startup capital for the youth to move into these areas to make sure that our production increase within the country. Most of the youth nowadays are focused on online activities. Government may also look at a way to be able to enhance that activity that will get the youth working day by day. So it is something that it has to be very strategic. We are seeing that agriculture is the way to go. We all admit that. Can government focus more on that area? And that will help us to be able to even reduce the inflation in the country, because if there are more, we have food in the country, the cost of food will come down, and then it will have a ripple effect also on inflation. So this is, to me, my advice is that the youth agricultural program should be intensified. A lot of funding must be given to that sector, and then to be able to make sure that we're able to get the youth working.
Away from that, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has disclosed that 12 billion was used in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 and 2021. He made a statement on the floor of Parliament after a sermon to answer 16 urgent questions on how government expended funds allocated for the COVID-19 pandemic.
Other funds were sourced to support the budget. These include the US $1 billion from the International Monetary Fund, 10 billion Ghana cedis from the Bank of Ghana, 69.3 million US dollars from the Africa Development Bank, and $99.7 million from the European Union. By the grace of the Almighty God, through our well-designed plans and the internal and external funds we mobilize, government provided support to the frontline health workers, protected livelihoods and job losses, demonstrated care to the vulnerable in society, and supported small businesses. Mr. Speaker, it must be noted that the status of utilization of the funds to finance the COVID-19 measures excludes funds of the National COVID-19 Trust Fund and the Ghana Private Sector COVID-19 Fund. Mr. Speaker, for the year 2020 and 2021, the program expenditure amounted to 15.763 million for the COVID-19 related expenditure, out of which the actual utilization was 12.036 million. In 2020, a total amount of 11.162 million, this includes a cap, was programmed for COVID-19 related expenditure. Out of this amount, a total of 8.12 billion was utilized. The amount was utilized to provide support to households, supply equipment and provide relief to health workers, health infrastructure, security operations, evacuations, quarantine and coordination, economic relief, stabilization and revitalization, and COVID-19 complementary releases. Mr. Speaker, a total amount of 4.6 billion was programmed in the 2021 budget for COVID-19 related expenses. At the end of 2021, total utilization was 3.9 billion, representing 85% utilization. Expenditure on COVID-19 falls within the following broad categories: supports to household, health responses, health infrastructure, security operations, economic relief, COVID-19 vaccines, other COVID-related expenditure, all summing up to the 12.03 billion.
The Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Owusu Akoto, has disclosed that 2.6 billion cedis has been expended on government flagship program Planting for Food and Jobs over the last 5 years. The program, which was launched in 2017, aims to promote food security and immediate availability of selected food crops on the market, as well as provide jobs. Government has in recent times come under criticism by some analysts describing the program as a failure due to basic food shortages in the country. But reacting to the issue, Dr. Akoto insisted the initiative has yielded good results as data show abundant harvest of food crops.
Some vehicles, logistics for our extension offices. But I'm proud to say that Planting for Food and Jobs have been totally funded by the Ghanaian taxpayer. The Ghanaian taxpayer's money has been to the tune of 2.6 billion Ghana cedis in the 5 years. And in fact, you will see that if you use the exchange rates at the time, we are talking about something like nearly $500 million US. So look, going back into history on government expenditure, there's no government which has spent so much money on farmers than the Akufo-Addo government. That one I can say for certain. And it's had this magnificent impact. Regionally, the 5 northern savannah regions have benefited to the tune of 57% of this money has gone to these 5 regions, and they've delivered. Farmers in Ghana have actually delivered, I mean, by all statistical standards, and it's internationally acknowledged that this program has been a running success. And the only critics that you have are internal here in Ghana, who, whatever you do, obviously, they don't see the benefit. But it's really benefited Ghanaians. If you look at the amount of food generated by this investment, we are talking about something like the 2.9. We are talking about something like $50 billion worth of food. You take the quantities derived from what we spent, you put the market values on it at the farm gate in terms of prices and so on. You come to such a huge amount of benefits to Ghanaian farmers.
Societe Generale Ghana has stressed that it is committed to transforming micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in Ghana. According to General Manager in charge of retail, Obed Hoya, the bank, through its newly launched SG Boafo loan product, will provide credit facilities to help owners of small businesses to mitigate their challenges. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Hoya said this will support small businesses across the country to thrive.
The SG Boafo loan product, which is specially designed for micro, small and medium enterprises, is an innovative package that provides credit in the form of working capital loans. According to Obed Hoya, General Manager in charge of retail for the bank, the intervention will ensure sustainability and growth of small enterprises in the country.
The Boafo loan is a working capital loan, okay? It runs for 12 months and is directed at entrepreneurs. It's mainly for entrepreneurs to help them to boost their business. You know, SG Ghana, we're always looking for solutions for the various segments of customer groups that we manage. And this is something we've been thinking about, and the time is right to launch a product like this, knowing very well the challenges that the small businesses face in Ghana today. So this is really the rationale behind the launch of the Boafo product. So when we talk about small businesses, you know, you have in Ghana, you have micro, you have small, you have medium. This product it runs across, so it targets from the micro to the small to the medium. That's why in terms of the amount you qualify for, we have quite a wide range, anywhere from about 60,000 to about 600,000 Ghana cedis. And you can even go beyond that for the medium-sized companies that are bigger and can absorb more than the limit of 600,000. We can do more for them.
He further explained that the bank has taken precautions to prevent customer loan defaults.
So the main criteria is that you must have a bank account. You should open a bank account, run your business through the account. You need to have run your account with us for a minimum of 6 months, okay? And beyond that, if you have a previous banking relationship from another bank, at least 6 months, then it can be considered. So basically you need a 12-month account relationship to be able to qualify for this, but at least a minimum of 6 months with us. The interest rates are quite competitive. The situation in Ghana today, we have inflation at 27.6. GRR, which is the Ghana reference rate, is above 20%, 20.8. We have the policy rate at 19 today. So, and T-bill, 91-day T-bill is inching around 24%. So we try to be quite competitive. We try to peg it just around the T-bill rate, yes, to make it quite competitive.
For the benefit of consumers and small businesses, the Boafu Loans products have a 12-month term. MSMEs would need to open an account with the bank and use the account to conduct business.
Several tracts of land destroyed by illegal miners are expected to be reclaimed as part of efforts to mitigate the devastating efforts of illegal mining in Etiwa Range. Already, more than 12 acres of the degraded land have been re-vegetated around the River Densu at Sejimase, a suburb of Chebi in the Abuakwa North Municipality of the Eastern Region. Kofi Sian reports that Pernod Richard, a world producer of alcoholic beverages in Arocha, a campaigner for forest conservation, have planted more than 400 trees to commence the project.
Uncovered mine pits at unregulated sites have not only caused damage to the environment, but also resulted in a number of accidents and deaths in mining areas. In the Eastern region, for instance, the destructive environment with several deep pits has become a source of worry for residents and government. It is for this reason that Pernod Ricard has set aside a day dubbed Responsible Day to embark on this initiative. The day is dedicated to ensuring sustainability and responsibility from its employees. This year's commemoration is under the theme Helping to Protect and Restore Nature and Biodiversity. The Sustainability and Responsibility Manager, Eunice Osei-Tutu, says the reclamation and tree planting exercise at the legal mining site aligned with their roadmap.
Who has been supporting us to do the leveling of the land, etc., would complete the rest for us. Yes. So our 2030 sustainability roadmap has 4 pillars. The first one is nurturing terroir, which is all the actions that we do around nature and environment, because all our products are given to us from nature.
Women in mining Ghana spearheading efforts to encourage more females to consider mining as a career to bridge the gender parity gap in the extractive sector. Asanko Mine chapter of WIM is exploring new ways to encourage more women, especially students in the basic and second cycle institutions, to take up science, technology, engineering, and mathematics STEM as a core subject.
The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 5 seeks to achieve gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. Current global statistics, however, indicate only 8 to 17% of women are working in and along the value chain of the mining industry. On this premise, Asanko Women in Mining says it has targeted to increase women representation in the mine from 17 to 25% in the next 3 years. Newly elected president of the group, Gloria Mensah-Bentel, during an induction ceremony, explained her office will help drive interest of females in mining.
So as the new president, my vision is to support the organization to increase from 17% to 25% of women representation in Asanko Mine. Research have proven that there is a gap at the basic level which translates into the outcome of the girls. So we are also going to focus on mentoring the children, the girls, from the basic level through to senior high, so that by the time they will get to the tertiary education, they are aware, they are much aware and much informed about the courses to choose that will end them up in working in the mining industry.
President of Women in Mining Ghana, Georgette Bans Sechiado, explained the group has the main purpose of advocating full participation of women in the mining sector.
I have been in communities and done a lot of these outreaches, and the number one thing that young girls, when I ask them, when you grow up, what would you like to be? Guess what they want to be? Nursing, teachers. I don't even get doctors. Nursing and teachers. Nurses, teachers. Why? Visibility. In those communities, when they wake up in the morning on their way to school, they see nurses. They go to school, they see female teachers.
For Prime Business, you can visit myjoyonline.com for more of our business stories. We leave you with news making headlines on the international front. I am Beverly Broohm. Have a good night.